Before we begin today's episode, I wish to notify all my viewers that I won't be uploading from Friday for a period of 1 week due to an urgent trip I must make. I apologize for any inconvenience. Delphine Lalaurie. Delphine Lalaurie was a sadistic socialite who lived in New Orleans. Her home was a chamber of horrors. On April the 10th of 1834, a fire broke out in the mansion's kitchen and firefighters found 2 slaves chained to the stove. They appeared to have started the fire themselves in order to attract attention. The firefighters were led by the other slaves to the attic, where the real surprise was. Over a dozen disfigured and maimed slaves were mangled to the walls or floors. Several had been the subject of gruesome medical experiments. One man appeared to be part of some bizarre sex change. A woman was trapped in a small cage with her limbs broken and reset to look like a crab, and another woman with arms and legs removed and patches of her flesh sliced off in circular motion to resemble a caterpillar. Some had their mouths sewn shut and had subsequently starved to death, whilst others had their hands sewn to different parts of their bodies. Most were found dead, but some were alive and begging to be killed to release them from the pain. Lalaurie fled before she could be brought to justice, and unfortunately, she was never caught. Ilse Koch. Known as the Bitch of Buchenwald because of her sadistic cruelty towards prisoners, Ilse Koch was married to another evil Nazi who served in the SS, Karl Otto Koch, but outshone him in the depraved, inhumane disregard for life which was her trademark. She used her sexual prowess by wandering around the camps naked with a whip, and if any man so much as glanced at her, she would have them shot on the spot. The most infamous accusation against Ilse Koch was that she had selected inmates with interesting tattoos to be killed so their skins could be made into lampshades for her home, though unfortunately no evidence of these lampshades has been found. After the war, she was arrested and spent time in prison on different charges, eventually hanging herself in her cell in 1967, apparently consumed by guilt. Oliver Cromwell. The Cromwellian conquest of Ireland refers to the reconquest of Ireland by the forces of the English Parliament, led by Oliver Cromwell during the Wars of the Three Kingdoms. The consequence of this conquest was 200,000 civilian deaths from war-related famine and disease, and 50,000 Irish being taken as slaves. Cromwell considered Catholics to be heretics, so the Irish conquest was a modern-day crusade for him. The bitterness caused by the Cromwellian settlement was a powerful source of Irish nationalism from the 17th century onwards. He died in 1658 and was so hated that in 1661 he was exhumed from the grave and given a posthumous execution. His corpse was hung in chains at Tyburn, and he was later dismembered and his remains thrown into a pit, with his head being displayed on a pole outside Westminster Hall for the next 24 hours. Pott. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge and the Prime Minister of Cambodia from 1976 to 1979, having been de facto leader since mid-1975. During his time in power, Pol Pot imposed an extreme version of agrarian communism where all city dwellers are relocated to the countryside to work in collective farms and forced labor projects. The combined effect of slave labor, malnutrition, poor medical care, and executions is estimated to have killed around 2 million Cambodians, approximately 1/3 of the population. His regime was famous for singling out all intellectuals and other bourgeois enemies for murder. The Khmer Rouge committed mass execution in sites known as killing fields. The executed were buried in mass graves. In order to save ammunition, executions were often carried out using hammers, axe handles, spades, or sharpened bamboo sticks. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Until tomorrow, goodbye.